not real money, which is one of my favorite ones. And I was actually at my parents' house last week, and my dad said to me, okay, but forgetting about Bitcoin for a second, let's talk about real money. And this really upset me. I've been working on Bitcoin for quite a few years. Bitcoin pays for all of my flights, my hotels. That's pretty real. And a lot of the time, the argument that you get is that I can't hold it in my hand. It's not real money if I can't see it or touch it or feel it. And I think that that's ridiculous, because a lot of people don't understand that the coins or the nodes that they actually are holding are not real money either. Coins intrinsically have no value. You know, if we go back 1,000 years and you could go and trade that piece of silver for something, that is value. But all those coins and notes do is they tell someone a value that the central bank of someone else decided. And there's no real difference between that and a digital storage. This is another great one, which we've heard a lot in the news over the last few months, and we even heard recently from a very famous economist. The idea that Bitcoin is a pyramid scheme. And I'd argue that this is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. There's primarily two reasons why this can't possibly be true. The first is that Ponzi schemes or pyramid schemes are based on a referral fee. The idea is that you get something by bringing people to the network. And other than the benefit of Bitcoin spreading, you don't benefit if someone else uses Bitcoin. So there's absolutely no payout mechanism. The second thing is, in a network or network marketing or any sort of pyramid scheme, the earlier you started, the more you cash out. And that's exactly the reverse of what we see in Bitcoin. Most of the people who started early on, or the people who are more passionate about Bitcoin, they choose to hold their Bitcoin. It's the newer users and the smaller users that actually take me out. So I think that this claim is, well, I can't say here the word I would use, but it's ridiculous. And volatility. So volatility is actually a valid concern. But I think that when people who aren't involved in Bitcoin, they talk about it being too volatile to use, what they mean by volatility and what we understand by volatility are two different things. The idea here is that most people argue it can't be an effective monetary system. It can't be a store of value. It can't be used for commerce because there isn't enough stability. And this just isn't true. Any currency can be volatile. In fact, the majority of the world's currencies are too volatile to use, which is why we all look at things like the dollar and the euro and the pound as the base currency pairs that we operate with. But if you look at something like Brexit, that was volatility. For a currency that large, with that much market share and that much traded transactions, to drop 15% in a day, it's more than we see in Bitcoin proportionally based on its market share. And then you have currencies which I love hitting on, like the Zimbabwe dollar. You know, whether you like it or not, that is a fiat currency. And there are so many currencies that go up and down, and they can do with very small market events. Bitcoin has had a lot of volatility because it's new, because it still doesn't have the critical mass that a lot of these fiat currencies have. And today we're seeing a lot of movements up in price. It goes down a little bit as well. But if you're in the space and you're using it for commerce, there's definitely enough stability to base a business on. I think what most of these people are arguing is not that it's a fixed price, or not that there isn't much movement, but they believe that it's going to crash. And that's a very different argument. And there's a simple answer to the question of volatility as well. Volatility is only relevant if you're trading it for a fiat currency. If you aren't trading Bitcoin for fiat, there is no volatility. If you exist within a closed economy and you buy your things in Bitcoin and you work with vendors that take Bitcoin and you charge your prices in Bitcoin, then you don't experience any volatility. And I think a great example of this is we saw in the office, we use Bitcoin as our base currency in the business. So if we get euros or dollars or anything else, we convert it to Bitcoin. And one of the girls who works for us, she had to send a gift to a partner site that we work with. And I sent her the link and it was quoted in dollars. And she turned around and said, what is that in Bitcoin? How do I know how much it costs if they tell me the price in dollars? And I would encourage everyone who can, work with companies that take Bitcoin. try and charge prices thinking in terms of milli-Bitcoin rather than converting it to a fiat currency. Okay, so apparently I'm speaking very slowly. I'm going to try run through a few things quite quickly so we can get to some more interesting things. Okay, drug money, Bitcoin. I would argue that the currency that's most used is US dollars. I think US dollars is responsible for a lot more in terms of criminal activity than Bitcoin. Money laundering. Bitcoin can be used to launder money. Yes, it can. Any currency can be used to launder money. This is also a ridiculous claim. And a lot of the time, you hear the people who claim that Bitcoin was created to launder money, in the same sentence, they'll also claim that it's not real money or not worth anything. If it's not worth anything, you can't launder money. If you can launder money, that means it's a real currency. So then we have misconceptions within our own community. And I'd like to address primarily three. The anonymity. Bitcoin is not anonymous. You still hear this today. If you are looking for an anonymous currency and you don't want your activities to be tracked, don't use Bitcoin. Free. Bitcoin is not free. We sold it as an idea to many people as an almost free currency. Essentially a transactionless, a costless transaction. But that was to try and help people understand it. It was never intended to be free. The network was set up with mining fees to create economic incentive to maintain the network. And lastly, that it's only a currency. And I think to a lot of people in this room, and to me especially, I would argue that Bitcoin is more than a currency. If you look around the people you work with, you look at these events, you look at the incredible RCOs and technologies we see, Bitcoin is a revolution. It has changed everything. So now we get to the idea of scalability. So for anyone who uses Bitcoin, and just to get an idea quickly here, who uses Bitcoin on a regular basis for payments? And who understands what the scalability issue is? Who is irritated at the amount of time it takes to confirm? Who wants to pay less on transaction fees? Who understands the difference between SegWit and Bitcoin Unlimited? Okay, so we've got a good level of understanding, but bit of a mix, so I'll try and introduce them. The basic problem today is very simple. Is the network is slow, much slower than it should be, and it costs too much to send transactions. If it continues like this, the network will get slower, and other than the double spend problems, it just means that Bitcoin doesn't offer a good user experience anymore, and it's becoming expensive. So micropayments are already effectively impossible, and it's getting more and more expensive just to work with it. Now, there are a lot of solutions, and everyone agrees we should pick one, but no one seems to be able to agree on which one. So the first one that's been offered is SegWit. This is essentially a solution that was built by the core development team. It is not an answer to the block size problem. The reason we have the problem today is that the blocks are essentially full. In the beginning, when Bitcoin started, blocks started out at 5K, and they would naturally increase as needed by the network. And then a while ago, we hard-coded with 1 meg block size, and we pretty much maxed them. So SegWit actually deals with many other things. It's bug fixes, it deals with a scaling issue, transforming it from quadratic to linear. All of these things are important, but one of the results of SegWit is that we could experience up to 130% increase in throughput, which would mean that it's the same as the blocks basically doubling in size. Now, that won't solve the problem permanently, but it might free up some congestion on the network. Unlimited. This is the main proponent, the main opposition to SegWit. Bitcoin Unlimited is an answer to the block size problem. The whole reason it exists is to solve the block size problem. Now, unlike SegWit, which requires an activation by the network, and once it's upgraded, then it exists, Bitcoin Unlimited makes the block size a choice of every miner. So every miner can determine how big they want the blocks to be that they mine. So someone could signal they want to mine 1 meg blocks. Someone could signal they want to mine 8 meg blocks. And then they will only get blocks that fall within that range. They also have the option to set an override, and it's quite a complicated but elegant solution. The problem with Unlimited is that it could result in a hard fork. It could result in a split of the network. The argument primarily against SegWit is that, well, there's a couple of arguments, but it's mostly about the lack of support. But Unlimited, if things go wrong, it could result in the chain splitting and creating multiple versions of the blockchain. Now we have a new one. As of a week or two ago, the idea of a user-activated soft fork. So instead of miners being able to determine what the block size would be, let's just move ahead. And the idea with this is we pick a date in the future. At that point, we upgrade to a new version of the Bitcoin software. And from that point on, SegWit is automatically enabled. Whoever doesn't want a signal for it doesn't have to, but it's completely backwards compatible, so there's no blocks that get ignored. And then the miners have a choice, or to accept it or not to accept it. And the idea is that the economic incentive is so high because they can't afford to 50% chance not to get a block, so, or an empty block, that we de facto force them into a position. And next we have the Lightning Network. So the Lightning Network is not one of the solutions that's been offered, but it is a vision of where the network could go. The idea with the Lightning Network is it would be off-chain. A lot of transactions would occur between parties with zero confirmations. So you're talking about you send someone money and it doesn't require any confirmations. It's based on a trust system that's, a trusted channel between two partners, and money is instantaneous with zero confirmations, and then those transactions are committed back to the blockchain and assumed to be trusted. So it would speed everything up. It would also reduce the load on the network incredibly. And the idea behind the Lightning Network is for Bitcoin to scale more than it has and to really become global news, it would require a complete change in the infrastructure. And almost everyone agrees that Lightning should happen. In order for it to happen, there has to be a malleability fix in the blockchain. And right now, SegWit's the only thing that provides it. Okay, and then in terms of signaling, so I took this last night. As of now, you can see that roughly half of the network still hasn't signaled for one of the solutions. And then you've got about a quarter that's signaling for Unlimited, a quarter that's signaling for SegWit. And to give you an idea, the SegWit threshold for activation is 95%. So the point is that while all this is going on, we aren't really getting anywhere. And this brings us to the issue of damage. So right now, we can measure the increase in cost of transaction. We can measure the increase in confirmation time. But my question is, can we measure the effect this has had on Bitcoin? Because other than the slowdown in the network, the more that this goes on, the more that we're actually hurting this wonderful thing that we're trying to build. So I would suggest that there are three types of damage that can be quantified. The first is opportunity cost. This isn't something that necessarily reduces the use of Bitcoin, but either because we're arguing politically amongst ourselves, or because we aren't focusing on building other things, we miss out on possibilities for newer and cooler and better things that could be created on Bitcoin. The next kind of damage is really attrition. And this is something that's usually a function of user experience. We could see it with existing users, we could see it with old users leaving the network. If you're using Bitcoin and you send money and you have to wait 5 hours for it to be confirmed, or a day passes and it gets lost and it's not yet been committed to the blockchain, then you will want to use it less. So as we go on more and more and the problem gets worse, we should see an increase in the rate of attrition, which means less and less people using it and a direct reversal of adoption rates. Now, I would suggest that if we combine the continued pressure of the opportunity cost and the attrition, and we add to that the negative publicity that occurs around Bitcoin generally, or especially around this political debate, then we could end up creating a third kind of damage, which is essentially an extinction level event. And I would argue that if we don't solve this problem, the lack of consensus will be worse than any of the solutions. Right now, we don't want to accept any individual solution because it's not the best. So what I'm saying is very simple. Pick none of them, and you end up worse than any of them. And as a result, I suggest that we have a moral obligation. What is our obligation? Our obligation is to solve the problem. It doesn't really matter for much longer which one we pick, as long as we pick one. And if I can say, people, and I appreciate that a lot of people have more invested in this decision than I do, But I think the time is to stop being little babies and actually pick a solution and move forward with building things instead of arguing about who's right and who's wrong about a solution. And I made it, yes?
Yeah, thank you.
So if you want to speak to me, you can follow me on Twitter or come to my website. Are there any questions? We have time for questions.
Nice report, really.
Any questions?
Yeah.